Hello everyone, I'm Women International Master Knarik and I'm using the chesswithknarik.com website to record this video. In this video, we're going to try to block our opponent's king escape squares and then we're going to be able to checkmate. So here, for example, we would like to check from the h6 square, but if we do, black king is going to move to e8 or e7 and escape. And if the black king escapes, that's not so good for white because black has extra material here. So we would like to checkmate here. So if we go back, then if I can block the e8 and e7 squares, it means that when I do check my opponent from h6, then that's going to be checkmate. So how can I block the e8 and e7 squares? By doing some checks. For example, here, if I check from a d8, black's only move here is to block the check with a bishop. No other moves for black here. Next, I also want to block the e7 square, so I can check from d6. And now black is definitely going to block with the queen because there's no other safe moves for the black king here. So that's it. The queen's gonna move to e7, and now that the e8 and e7 squares are blocked already, f7 was blocked from before. Now all we have to do is check the black king, and that's gonna be a checkmate. Very good. Let's see if we go back and see the initial position. Now we could have maybe started by checking from d6, but that was not gonna work, right? Because definitely here black can just move away to e8 and our plan is not gonna work. Or if the queen blocks here, okay, we don't have any more checks here on this side, and if we check from h6, the king is escaping, and I'm guessing capturing here it's going to be checkmate, so we don't want that. We can block with our queen, but of course the queen is going to capture. So let's go and see another position. So it's important how we're checking. If we want to try to block the escape squares, it's really important the order of moves that we're playing and how we're checking our opponent. Let's see the next position. So in this position, we can see that we have two bishops. That's very important, especially when we're attacking, because each bishop can control, let's say, the different colors. One bishop controls the dark square, the other controls the light square, the light squares on the board, and they can work on checkmate, definitely. So here, let's see. I see that I can check from the e8 square. But if we do this check, then the black king does have an escape square, and also the bishop might block the check, and we won't have much. Let's see, after that we can win a piece. I see after, if the bishop blocks, we can win a piece. Let's say here, if the bishop blocks, we can win a piece, because when we check here, the king has to leave the bishop and we will be able to capture the bishop. But this is going to be a tough end game. We will try to win all the black pawns and then checkmate with two our bishop pair. So if we go back, so maybe when we check here, black might just move away. So by moving away, they're not losing the bishop, and okay, they will be able to continue this game with no trouble. So going back, okay, so it's important that we block the d5 square so the king doesn't move there. And there we go. How can we block the d5 square? If we just push our pawn, we will be doing two things. First of all, the bishop will be moved away, so even the blocking option is not going to be there. And if the bishop captures, now the d5 square is blocked, and when we check, that's it, that's checkmate, because one of our bishops is controlling the light squares and the other bishop is controlling the dark squares, and that king is completely trapped between the bishops. Now, of course, when we push our pawn, we have to take into consideration all the options that black has. I cannot just push and rely on the fact that the bishop is going to capture him and I'm going to checkmate, because it might be that black will not capture, or black is going to capture maybe with the king. So we have to take into consideration all the moves here. So maybe black is going to capture with the king. Capturing with the king, though, is going to go into a checkmate. We can just checkmate here because that king's moves are limited. The only squares that the king can move on are the light squares, but then we can control them all by checking the king from the f3 square with our light square bishop. That's checkmate. And so if we go back and we push our pawn, we still have one more thing to consider, that the black king might move away. Now we're going back to the line where we are going to win the bishop, and then we're going to play an endgame where we have two bishops, try to win those pawns that black has, and then win the game. So here probably we will need to move closer to the pawns and go and capture them. It's not going to be too difficult, but it will be okay, winning for white. Let's see. Let's see the next position. So in this third position, we can see that, okay, white does have an extra knight, but black has two pawns that are advanced, and these pawns are very dangerous and they can promote. So it's very important that we take advantage right now of this position and try to checkmate the black king. Since on h3 it's on the edge of the chessboard, doesn't have many safe moves to do there. So we would it would be good if we can just checkmate right away. Otherwise, this is going to be very difficult for white to play. So let's see. What happens if we just check the black king? If we just check, the black king is going to move to the g2 square. So there is an escape square that the king has. Okay, we might, okay, checking with the knight is not going to fork or anything. It's not going to give us anything. And checking with the rook, again, it's not much because now, right now, the black rook is going to trade our rook and then is going to just try to promote again. So this doesn't look so good for us. So, but what if we think about it like this? If we go back to the original position, so the problem is that when we're checking, the black king has an escape square, which is the g2 square. What if we try to block it somehow? But how are we going to block that square? Let's see. If we place our rook on g7, we have a very strong threat here. Our threat is just to move the rook to g3, and that's going to be checkmate. If we just move our rook on to g3, that's going to be checkmate because the knight is taking away the h2 and h4 squares. So what can black do to stop rook to g3 checkmate? Can't move the king. No moves for the king. If black ignores our move, just tries to promote, we can do our checkmate. That's rook to g3 checkmate, right? So the only way that black can stop our checkmate and be able to continue the game is if black plays rook to g2, because now rook g3 is not safe. Black simply captures it. Very good. So now our checkmate has stopped, but at the same time, we were able to block the escape square g2 that black needed with the king. So now we can do our check from h7, and the black king does not have any safe moves to do because the only square that the escape square that the king had, g2, is now blocked with the black rook. Very good. Let's see the next one. In the next one, let's see. Here we have the white pieces. We have a knight and a bishop versus a rook. Knight and a bishop already is a very difficult endgame to win, and if our opponent has a rook, well, that's gonna be too challenging unless we win the rook and then do the checkmate. But this is a special position, of course, because the opponent's king is already on the edge of the chessboard and is trapped somehow. Okay, here it's white's turn. So what if white simply captures the black rook, and then we just checkmate with the knight and the bishop? We have a video, by the way, of a knight and a bishop checkmate, and it is of Coach Nemanja from this website showing the checkmate to me. So you can just watch the video. It's in our YouTube channel. So let's see here. Then if we want to continue and okay, capture the black rook, what's gonna happen? If we simply capture the black rook and then try to do the checkmate, it's just gonna be stalemate. We cannot just capture the rook. So we need to find another solution. We need to find a way to checkmate this black king because anyways it's trapped. So what to play here? Let's see. If I play, let's say, the knight to, let's say, b5. What will black play? My threat is checkmate. Of course, I want checkmate from the c7 square with my knight. What will black play? Black will play rook to a7. Black is willing to give up this rook because right now, whether I capture with a knight or I capture with my bishop, that's still check. That's still stalemate. So, and what if I try to do my checkmate? Again, it's not gonna work because okay, black can simply capture that piece, and this is not gonna be enough material to continue for white. Um, okay, so if we go back, so knight to b4, trying to checkmate from c7 is not working. Now, what if we try to get to the c7 square, but from d5 instead of b5? So from d5, what's the difference there? Well, because here we have two different squares that we can access with our knight that are dangerous. Now, um, so first of all, we want to checkmate from c7 like before, not from b6 for sure, because if we play knight to b6, the king has an escape square now that we have blocked our own bishop's diagonal. So if we go back and we play knight to d5, so our threat right now is to move to c7 with the knight. So the only way black can stop this is to move the rook to a7 like before. Again, if we capture that rook, we're just going to have an extra knight, and that's insufficient material, and the game is going to end in a draw. So what do we need to do here? What if now we check from the b6 square, because a7 was the escape square for the black king when we were checking from b6. Since we were blocking our bishop, the king previously was escaping to the a7 square. But now the a7 square is blocked by the rook, and playing knight to b6 is just going to be checkmate. So let's see. So in these videos, in these positions of this video, we saw different positions where we can try to see that if our opponent's king has limited escape squares, we can try to block them first with different methods and then try to checkmate the opponent.